Good morning, guys. Welcome to my Monday morning rants for Monday, the 5th of it's fucking September already, 2022. So last week, I reluctantly signed up to Netflix again. I'm sure it's been a few years without Netflix. And at the time, last time it was $10 a month, and it's not surprising that it's gone up in price. I think it's $17 a month now for 1080p. They got me on the res because I've got a 4K TV and I don't understand why I would watch a 720p video blown up. I respect the resolution, so I had to pay up. And the reason why I signed up to Netflix is because of the Sandman. The Sandman, I was introduced to the Sandman comic books by my first boss, straight out of design school. I did a internship at a company where my first boss was a woman, and she was amazing. She still is. Tabitha, if you're out there, I miss you. She insisted that I read The Sandman really early on. She just asked me to take a copy of one of the many volumes that she had, take it home and read it. And I got obsessed with The Sandman. Written by Neil Gaiman, but I was also obsessed with the cover art, which was done by an artist called Dave McKeon, who really inspired me back in that day. Really textural Photoshop work, but using scanning and using photos of real texture and using it in his work, which I did for a long time. Unfortunately, I'm lazy just like everybody else is, and I just use Google search these days. But at that time, he really inspired me to not be a lazy graphic designer and get off my ass and actually scan shit in and use those textures, because call them your own, as opposed to, being lazy and finding images online, or spending so much time looking for the right image online when you can just grab your phone and grab a digital camera and just go and shoot it on your own. So the Sandman, I won't go into what it's all about, but this concept of having other gods, I suppose, that govern us, the main character being the Sandman himself, Dream, the king of dreams, who you visit his land, the dreamland, when you sleep, and his sister Death, who visits you the moment you die. There's Destiny, Desire, Delirium, which I'm sure visits me quite often. It's just an amazing world that he created, and they were just amazing stories. I fucking love his stories. I love the Sandman series. I bought every single volume, and I still have them on my shelf to this day. So when I heard that the Sandman was finally being adopted to the screen, it had been rumored forever, and I always thought that they were going to make a movie out of it. But a series makes a lot more sense, because the Sandman, the comic books, were broken up into lots of short stories. So I have to say that I was excited, and I didn't listen to any of the hype. I don't really think there are that many Sandman fans out there. Anyway, it was always a really dark and strange comic novel series. So I wouldn't expect there to be hype. But I also know that being Netflix, there have been a fair few times where they've adapted a comic book and just completely changed shit around for no good reason. Either changed the color of a comic book character, or changed the sex of them, or made them gay, or it always just felt like Netflix is pushing an agenda, trying to turn something that was just fine the way it was, but for some reason making a problem out of it, and then just trying to fit in with, I don't know, the world today or something. I don't mean to sound fucking old like a dinosaur or nothing, but it's like, you know, if the comic books have always been the same for years, why would you go and change it to fit in with, I don't know, people who weren't into the comic book in the first place? Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, yeah, my fear of that, not that it's a fear, but it's like, I just thought that I kind of expected it. And within the first couple of episodes, or first episode, instantly, it happened. It happened straight away. Death's main man, Lucien, who looks after the library, is a white dude in the comic books, in every single one of the comic books. And you get introduced to him, who is now her, and played by a black actor. And that just went on and on. Like, the more episodes that played, the more they've changed his sister Death, who was this super cute goth girl in every single comic book. Every time she came up, she was always drawn. And there were different artists as well, right? For every single graphic novel, he got a different artist, which is so cool. So there was no consistency at all with the art style. But there was a style guide. And Death always looks like this super cute white pixie rock chick. And in the Netflix series, she's black. And everyone in every episode is gay. And even Desire, this sort of androgynous looking woman, is played by a man in the series. So look, I just felt like a lot of the choices that were made and changes that were made were not necessary, considering in all the years of the comic book, there was a style guide, and we got to love the characters the way they were depicted in every single short story. And I went to the internet, as you do, just to see if there was rage out there, which I knew there would be. And yeah, the whole LGBTQ, I'm so fucking annoyed that I even have that in my head, and I know that sequence of letters, because it's just, I don't buy into all this drama and this, like, whatever the fuck everyone thinks is going on with the world. Hey, like, it's just overboard. But that whole community is in an uproar about being misrepresented in this, and why the fuck do they have to keep shoving gay people and trans people and stuff in modern Netflix series and misrepresenting them, and then there's the other half of hardcore Sandman fans that are really upset about how gay the Sandman is. And it's really fascinating to see so many of them hit Reddit with the topic, because they're all getting shot down as expected. And both sides are unhappy. And so again, I just don't understand why these changes needed to be made. But then I found Neil Gaiman himself, the guy who created the Sandman. I found him on Twitter firing shots, legit, just having a go at the fans and saying that the fans aren't true fans if they think that the characters that he created, which, you know, they're not human, right? They're not human. So he was trying to say that the true fans would understand that they're not human, so it doesn't matter what human form they decide to take, whether it's a male or female or black or white. It shouldn't matter. And conceptually, I understand that, but I think his thinking is flawed because the comic books, despite being drawn by so many different artists, they always drew the main characters in a certain way, a certain sex and a certain color. So his thinking is flawed, in my opinion. But at the same time, who gives a shit what I think? As a fan, I'm just that. I'm just a fan. It's not my world. It's a world that Neil Gaiman himself has created. It's his stories, his characters, and he seems to be really happy with the choices that he's made. And that's all that fucking matters. He is the artist. He is a true artist. And so I'm glad I kind of researched that 3 or 4 episodes in, because it was just starting to really piss me off. And when I found that this wasn't something that Netflix forced upon Gaiman, it was a choice that he was happy to make. It changed my mindset on it and made me realize, just enjoy it. Who gives a fuck if it's different to the comic books? It's always like that. So I watched the entire 11 episodes. I think I watched it all in like a day or two, which is why I hate Netflix, right? I'm still... It's not. I'm not sure if I'm romantic about it, but the whole concept of like hanging out for next week's episode of X-Files and having to deal with the commercial breaks, I put the fucking work in for that, and I'm just so... Maybe I'm just jealous that people can just watch a whole year's worth of episodes in one sitting, ad-free. I just hate that. I hate the concept of watching 3 or 4 weekly episodes in one sitting and potentially getting tired on the 5th one and falling asleep or something, and not quite giving it as much attention, not giving that episode, that 4th or 5th episode, as much attention as you would be if you were hanging out for that episode the whole week. But I enjoyed it, and Netflix really works. 100%, it really works because the comic books were so jarringly different to each other because of Neil Gaiman using different artists in every book. The series, yeah, it makes sense. And man, they were so accurate. Some of the stories in the comic books adapted to the screen so well. Again, it was just so good in so many ways, and so different and weird for, in my opinion, not great reasons and unnecessary reasons. But I loved it. I'm so happy that they finally did it. And it does make me want to go back and read the comic books. And it's very rare that I read something before it's turned onto the screen, because I really don't read. Maybe Lord of the Rings is the only book that I've ever read that went to the screen afterwards. And I think the trend is that the book is better than the movie. And I've always sort of heard that and never understood it because I never read books. But I can definitely say that when Lord of the Rings came out, I was definitely upset about how it was adapted as well, and certain scenes, and it definitely argued that the book was better. So I get it. So yeah, enough about the Sandman. In other news, Instagram has been deleting a photo of mine every single day this past week, and I'm not arguing. They're not breaking rules, the ones that they're choosing to delete, but I'm not arguing. They freeze my account every time until I acknowledge that they've deleted one of my posts. So my account seems to be on ice, and I'm definitely shadow banned. It's just depressing. I know that it's their platform, it's their rules, and they don't want me on there. But it's not a problem for most of the time. And then when it is, it's like getting this constant reminder. Every time I do grab the phone, I check out Instagram, and then this thing pops up saying that, it's just how it pops up. Big exclamation mark. Your post goes against our guidelines. Sexual solicitation and blah, blah, blah. And it just feels shit. It's like you're having a good day, and then you check it out. You pick up your phone, and then you feel shit. And I hate it. It's depressing. It eats away at me, and it makes me want to quit. It makes me want to delete Instagram altogether and just stop it. Because ultimately, there's nothing much I can do about it. So that sucks. That's been happening. On sort of the same topic, I finished editing the photos that I shot with Abby, Cremalicious, and they turned out fantastic. And we submitted some photos to a magazine. So that was the whole concept of the shoot, was because a magazine reached out to both of us and wanted to publish our work. It's a print magazine as well as an online magazine. And just got a message yesterday to say our shots have been received and shortlisted. So it looks like it's actually going to happen, which is kind of surprising. I didn't expect it to happen. I think a lot of these magazines are predatory in some ways, in that they have ways that you can submit your photo and actually pay to be in it, as opposed to being selected. And I've thought that for a while with this magazine, but I'm still not sure, so we'll have to see. I doubt that I'll be getting a print copy for submitting the photos. I really hope Abby does, because end of the day, she's stoked, and she's super happy about it. So if she's happy, I'm happy. And I also had a real life meetup with Willie. Willie is my writing buddy, my signature sound writing buddy. So we're both involved in this book project, a book that's being published in December. The theme of the book is, what do you sound like when you speak? And Willie's someone who I've met a few times now over Zoom, right? But meeting him in real life was so weird. Like, he came over to my place. He's moving into Maroubra at the junction. So he's literally going to be living like 6 minutes away from me from now on. And that's super cool. He's Indonesian. And so we don't speak Indo to each other because my Indo is so bad. But we get along, and we've had a few Zoom calls. So meeting him in real life was really strange for me. It was like the first time that I've probably met someone new where it felt like I'd met them many times before. So it just felt like I knew him already, which I do. So felt really comfortable. Went down to the pool cafe. It was fucking windy as fuck and really cold. We sat outside, didn't get served, and I thought, fuck this. So got up and went down the road to the Grumpy Baker. So much more reliable, so much less pretentious, and yeah, we were talking about our writing project. So he was in a bit of a pickle with it, his piece, and he has a ton of ideas for this piece, but it's almost like he's trying to write a book, and there's no limit as to how many pages we can take for this book that's coming out, where there's a few of us answering the same question of what do you sound like when you speak. And Willie has so many stories that it's almost like he needs the whole book to get it all out. And for him to have to whittle and refine it all down, it would just, it's not going to be easy. I mean, it's great that he actually can get all of that out, and he has more content than less content, because it would be so much worse to have creative block and not be able to write, or writer's block and not be able to write at all. This guy doesn't have that problem. It's just that he has so many ideas. And the designer in me can't help myself. I always come back to the brief. It's just what designers do. We go off the rails. Sometimes, personally, I do it on purpose. And then you hone it back, and then you remember to reread the brief and respect the fuck out of the brief. Keep coming back to the brief so that you're not lost in working on something that isn't answering the problem. So the problem is, what do you sound like when you speak? And I was just letting Willie know that's probably one thing that he really needed to do, was just go back to the brief and answer the question, what do you sound like when you speak? And this is the best thing, right, about catching up with people in real life, or even on a Zoom call. You bounce off people. This little Monday morning rant I do is one way. It's just fucking therapy for me. It's a dumping ground. But when I meet other people, I say shit that I never thought I could say, because just them being there is someone that I can bounce ideas off, and that's how shit comes out. And so he just put a mirror up, basically, and just said, dude, we got talking about what I'd been doing and my bipolar, and how I had been on Reddit and someone said something stupid, and it was so stupid that I couldn't resist but troll the guy. And I did. I sat there for I sat there for half a day thinking up the most savage response to this dude, this stupid guy. And I trolled him. I responded with something so nasty and so well crafted that he literally deleted the entire thread. And that really upset me too, because I put so much time into what I written that when it was deleted, I didn't save what I wrote. And I had the popcorn out. I was waiting for him to respond with anger and negativity, and I had the popcorn out waiting for a fight. And it never happened. So when I was telling Willie about this internet win that I had, it's so stupid. And at the same time, him, over a few times we've met, him telling me how I don't have an ego at all, and that I'm very humble. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. I've got a humongous ego. And just trying to explain to him that that the bipolar probably has something to do with it, and that if you're going to be a mate of mine, you got to understand my flaws, and there's another side of me that comes out that'll probably rip into you at some point, only to apologize the next day. And he's just said back to me, dude, like maybe that would be a better piece for you to write about your bipolar in an answer to what do you sound like when you speak, as opposed to the piece I had already written about my journey with the guitar and playing the guitar over the years, and finally finding my voice through how I play and finding tone in my fingers. And oh man, I totally agreed. I totally agreed with him that yes, that would be so much more me to write a piece on the struggles that I am still going through. It's like a work in progress, as opposed to this guitar piece, which is a bit cheesy and a bit easy, and it's not emotional. It's not obtuse enough to represent me. But at the same time, I said to him, I'm an artist, and I have never had an issue with publishing stuff that's not finished. I think that's where a lot of creative people get hung up, right? Is they want things to be perfect. They're perfectionists, or they think they are. And so they never release anything because it's not good enough. You know, artists are really hard on themselves too, right? So I've always known that about being creative, and I'm the same person. I have the same issues like every other creative person, but I force myself to publish. It's the only way you get better, and it's the only way you get shit out of your fucking forebrain and onto the page or onto the internet or whatever. Get it out of your system. So I just said to him, yeah, I'm not really happy with that piece either, but fuck it. You've got to publish. Otherwise, you're constantly going to rewrite stuff, and you're your own worst critic, and you'll never end up publishing anything. But then a couple of nights later, I decided, shit, I couldn't get it out of my head. For sure, I needed to rewrite my piece. So I did. I trashed it. I trashed the whole piece that I had been working on for a couple of months now about the finding tone in my fingers as a guitarist. And I decided to scrap that, and I rewrote a piece about bipolar and in regards to what do I sound like when I speak. Well, it just depends on which me you get on the day. You know, sort of more positive me, or the obsessive compulsive me, or the completely flat me. I don't know. Just depends who rocks up. So yeah, I'm really happy that happened. And I also had a Zoom call with a good mate of mine, Ray, who lives interstate, and him and I have met a couple of times, I think, during Zen Garage days. He's a contributing photographer to the blog, and he's a fellow creative, and every now and then he reaches out, especially if he's in a low place or just gone through something hard. He suffers from depression as well as me. He's a creative like me, and he reaches out in order to have a little Zoom call as a pick-me-up. Well, I hope he realizes as well that it picks me up too. Two creatives in a room will just bounce off each other, and I bounce off this dude. And we had a late night Zoom call, and he was in a bad place, and he thanked me at the end of the call, he thanked me for my advice. And that always, again, just makes me nervous, because I don't want to give advice. I'm really scared of giving advice. I mean, all of that sort of advice that I had given over the years, I was fucking off my tits. I was smoking a shit ton of weed every week. And so if anyone took me up on my advice, I am now, in retrospect, quite scared of what happened to these people. It's that concept of like showing someone the door You know, I showed them the door, and then I fucking just left them alone to deal with whatever the consequences were of going through the door. I wasn't there for them afterwards. It's just like I was just good at kicking people in the ass and getting them into gear, but then not keeping tabs on anyone, not really caring, you know. Just get them over the first hurdle and then just like that's it, move on to the next person. So yeah, it was good. It was really good chatting with Ray and just acknowledging and that you're a creative dude. Like it just comes with being creative. You've got your ups and you got your downs. And the idea of trying to find balance is a forever thing, right? You could try to find balance within a day or a week or a month. It doesn't really matter. It's going to happen anyway. You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs. And just an analogy that I did make, though, that if you were trying to be conscious about it, artists are really good at being in a down place. Some of the best art that I've created has been when I was down. And the art was like therapy, right? And it helped me get back to my feet. I needed to create it to get that shit out, you know? And we love the self-loathing sometimes. We love to be down. We love to stay there and dwell. And just something that came out when I was talking to Ray, just using muscles as an analogy, like you're flexing the wrong muscle. Sometimes you're putting so much energy and creative energy into being down and the self-loathing and feeling sorry for yourself and how fucking hard everything is and how it's hard to go against the grain and you're tired of it. But that's what we do. We're really good at that. And so if you keep doing that too much, you're going to flex those muscles. Those muscles are going to grow and you're going to get really fucking good at it. And you've got to remember that you're neglecting all the positive energy and all the other shit, the upside, which has gotten really weak. So you need to start flexing that muscle. And yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, like I said, I don't want to give advice because I can't fucking talk. You know, I've been there, done that, but I'm not fucking there right now. I'm kind of in limbo. And I'm happy to be here. So yeah, that was my week. It was a good one. It was about acceptance and catching up with Willie and Ray. Working my ass off, editing like a mofo, which I haven't done in a while. I'm still behind. I've got the photo shoot that I did with Anna Moon. I haven't finished, and I've been keeping her updated about how slow I've been. It's probably been almost like a month now, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, yeah, since the shoot. So really bad. Got to get to editing the last shoot that I did with Viv as well, but she's busy. She's in Ubud overseas, sending me daily updates, which is super sweet, and she's rocking it. The yoga stuff, she's doing really well. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I've got heaps of photos to edit still. I've got to reread over this new writing piece that I've written, and shape it and refine it. And yeah, it's weird to be back on Netflix. I have binge watched a few things now. That F1 Drive to Survive series is fucking amazing. So I've been watching that, and other shit that's on Netflix. It's just I found some shit already that is just the only thing it's good for is to put on the laptop and fall asleep to. Well, yeah, it is now almost 6 a.m. I was up like a lightning bolt this morning at 5. Sleep is still fucked got conjunctivitis in my left eye. Uh, and my vision is really hazy and blurry. Thank God it's not my shooting eye. Um, but yeah, I will deal, and it's been a good week, and I'm in a good place, and I'm happy about that. So I hope everyone has an awesome week. I know I will, and I shall catch you guys in the next one. See yes.